It's now time for 15 minutes with the kind compliments of the NCSA. And once again, I am joined. I have some company here today. And my guest today in studio, just let me make sure we're not in studio, online and on the Zoom. Hold on, I see some people knocking to come in, so let's open up the door. Join us. Here we go. Join us again. Last week she was with us, and once again, let's say good morning to Alison Gottep. And also joining us today is Mrs. Laura Lee Foster, and she's a research assistant at the NCSA. And of course, Alison, she's the director of the Substance Abuse Foundation. Good morning, ladies, and welcome.
Good morning.
Everyone's
Good
muted.
morning.
Here we
Good
go.
morning.
Nice to have you with us this morning. Now, the discussion I have here before me, we are ready to offer family research. That's it. We're ready to offer the family support. Sorry. So, just tell us what support are you offering to families out there, and how can they access this support?
Alison, you want to go first?
No, you go ahead, Laura. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, well, for sure we know that the family is very important for women, because as women, we thrive on our relationships with our families and friends. So making sure that there is support for the families of persons who may need substance abuse treatment who may be in treatment is very important. In fact, I am currently conducting a study which looks at the barriers to treatment for women in Barbados. And we would have interviewed some women. We spoke with treatment providers. We've done some questionnaires with women as well. And one of the big things that keeps coming out, there is a family theme and the need for, let's say, childcare services, like for when they're in treatment, because, women, they care for their children. They want to make sure that they are well taken care of if they need to go into a treatment facility. So making sure that there are support services in that regard is very important. And which, of course, it's great to know, because at the Substance Abuse Foundation, you all are developing such services.
Exactly.
I'll let you expand a bit more.
Thanks for that, Laura. Sorry, I was just having some technical difficulties. Yes, so correct. The same research that Laura's speaking about at the NCSA is the same research that we would have found just through phone calls that we were receiving, understanding that there was really a need, especially about 5 to 6 years ago, understanding there was really a need for women to come into treatment. When we had started Verdun House 20 years ago, we actually had both men and women on the same facility, and that didn't work too well. And it was only about 6 years ago that we decided to start to open up a facility, Marina House, for females, because the need was there. And as Laura indicated, a lot of the barriers that were stopping women, because I think I would have said last week that we are naturally resilient, and our connections to family and support systems often very strong. So what we've done at the Marina House is that it is for both mother and children. We currently do have females in the organization who are there with their children as well, because we understood that really did stop a lot of them seeking help, and they would prefer to just, unfortunately, be in, wrapped up in the disease of addiction and just try to kind of, navigate their life whilst having the children. And it doesn't really work. It becomes very difficult for women to do that. So actually being in a place where they know that their children are safe, know that they can actually engage in treatment, really does work. We also do have a very close relationship with the Childcare Board, but of course that also at times carries its own stigma as well. So we were very cognizant of the fact, and therefore that's why we have that female facility with the children.
Now, I understand sometimes you may have a situation where perhaps there's a mother that's an abuser, and maybe even the child may be doing the same thing, but we have a situation where the state may separate the child from the mother, where that child is going into the foster system and the mother may be at one of your facilities. Is there anything in place to treat both parent and child together?
I'm glad you asked that question. You must be able to predict our plans. Currently, we actually on the same. You're more than a DJ. Um, Currently, we also on the same compound as Marina House have what we call a therapeutic. We're in the midst of building a therapeutic family center. And this therapeutic family center is really going to be for the children as well. We've set it up. It's going to be child friendly. It's going to be a place where children feel safe and young persons feel safe and can actually tap in to some of the treatment services that we provide here at the Substance Abuse Foundation. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that should finish building within the next 2 or 3 months. Fingers crossed, exactly.
Now, that being the case, now getting there is often a task in itself. How can individuals access the care and the services being offered? We often may hear about interventions by family and friends. Can come out of that, or do they have to themselves be willing to just approach you and do it on their own?
Right. So we offer outpatient services. It's just literally a telephone call. As I would have done last week, I gave out my own cell phone number. And we actually have a hotline that's manned 24 hours a day. That number is 243-0038, 243-0038. We also understand that actually asking for help is one thing, and then, backing it up with actions is another. So what we do, we meet them where they're at. Yes, we're based in St. John, but we do have other facilities that we use across the island that can make it accessible so we can see each other face to face. If they don't want to do face to face, especially COVID taught us, if nothing else, about the use of technology. So we do telehealth. So we can make a phone call, we can do WhatsApp calls, and we can do Zoom as well, which is what we've been doing to connect those people and young persons and families together. And that really helps with the family dynamics, because then you're able to have the families all together. And we've been doing that even if the family support is overseas as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned the Zoom, of course, the telephone and such. Perhaps Laura Lee can answer this here. Do people in your operations, have you found that people are aware of the services being offered and how to access these services?
It's interesting that you asked that because when we were doing our research and speaking with the ladies and so on, they spoke about the importance of making sure to share with persons so they can be more educated about what options are out there, because that can sometimes be a deterrent, So not only about sharing about what options there are and how to come into treatment, but also what I think is important, and this definitely came out in our discussions, is the fact that persons need also to be educated about what addiction looks like and what help may be needed for addiction. Because, as we were saying, family support is so important. But if a family doesn't know, the signs to recognize that their family member may have a problem and may need help, that can be a challenge. Also, making sure that, as I said, they know what types of treatments are important in treating such a situation, because, some persons may believe, well, we can go to church and we can pray and it will get better, but sometimes it needs a deeper, it needs deeper help. And that came out as well, and making sure that persons also understand that it's nothing to be embarrassed about, because stigma is a big challenge as well, where families are concerned because they may be embarrassed to say that their family member needs help or needs to go into treatment. So all around education is needed, not only about what services are available, but what addiction looks like and what treatment is needed for addiction.
You mentioned about the family members being embarrassed. I know we come out of a time where anyone that perhaps may have what we perceive as an illness or shortcoming or anything, it normally pushed in the closet. Do you find that that's one of the barriers, in terms of people seeking help from their family and friends? Is that one of the problems you encounter?
Definitely. What I realize and what we realize is that sometimes it is about the person, families pushing that one person who is the addict, the person struggling with the addiction, and putting them in places like Verdant or Marina House and thinking, well, they just need to sort out themselves and they'll be good to go once they come out. Not realizing that when you have someone in your family who is an addict, it is actually what we call a family disease, because every single person gets affected. The mother starts having sleepless nights. She's maybe the one who, or the father may be the one who has to pay off the drug dealer. Everyone gets affected. And so it's so important for us to realize that the whole family need therapy. How do I cope with someone in my family with addiction? Have I got my own stigma and my own preconceived ideas? Am I blaming myself because it's my child? So it becomes, it's more to do with a systemic approach to addiction, which basically means us looking at the family as a whole.
Is it easier? Well, I guess perhaps it's a case by case basis, but do you find that it's easier when they have that family support or when they probably separate themselves from the family, whereas sometimes the family may be the one factor that's keeping them from that recovery?
As you said, it does depend. Sometimes their family and what is normalized in the family can sometimes attribute to, certain persons making certain choices. So when we even talk about support system, we always use it very loosely. We tend to go to the family, but it can be support system in any way. It could be friends, it could be work colleagues, it can be the employer, anybody who's willing to say, you know what, through this time, I've got your back.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I need to learn how I can, develop a healthier relationship with you.
Now, Laura, as I say, you are the research assistant at the NCSA. Can you, as we get ready to wrap up, because we only have 3 minutes left, say how has your research helped in developing the NCSA and the approach to those that you try to help?
Well, of course, research is very important in making sure that we are addressing the actual needs of the society. We dig down and find out what exactly is the problem, and then we can craft the necessary responses to adequately respond. I would say it's very important, particularly in a time now where the world is moving towards everything must be evidence-based. Mm-hmm. So we make sure and we can measure what is before and what is after we do our programs to make sure we've had an impact as well. And with this particular research that we are conducting now, the hope is that we will not only be able to inform our practices here at the NCSA, but that we will be able to inform policy changes. We will be able to get those barriers broken down for women and get certain different measures put in place also within treatment programs. So we're not only looking at us here at the NCSA, but how far reaching our results can be to help craft the way forward for Barbados where treatment is concerned.
And those results that you're sharing, you're getting the feedback that you're expecting or you're looking for?
Definitely. The women were very willing to share their experiences with us. The treatment providers, of course, they're very invested in their clients. So they also were willing to share the challenges that they experience. Everyone has been very open. So we're hoping that towards the end of this year, our research will be ready for dissemination once all goes according to plan.
All right, Alison, the final words are yours. So once again.
Okay, so yeah, I really do appreciate what NCSA is doing, and we really do collaborate with them very closely because it's key to understand. I think what's so great is because this is organic. This is what's happening in Barbados and the Caribbean. Sometimes we have research coming from North America, which is very good, and England, but we really need to know what's happening to make sure it's culturally appropriate. So if there are any families, any females who do really need help, I would have said the hotline, which is 243-0038, or my number, which is 234-7586, 234-7586. And thank you very much for giving, once again, Substance Abuse Foundation this opportunity to speak again to you.
Well, it's been my pleasure. I always enjoy these chats. Always great to have the information being shared out there, especially for those that don't know that there is hope and there are people out there helping. So thanks very much to Mrs. Laura Lee Foster. She is the research assistant over there at the NCSA and the director of the Substance Abuse Foundation, Miss Alison Gotip. That has been 15 minutes of substance, all with the thanks of the NCSA.